I was in college, a little community college right outside, about an hour away from my house, and I'd gone home that weekend and made a friend of mine a knife sheath. And when I came back that Monday, I handed it to him, and a friend of his was standing there, and a friend of ours or whatever, and he said, "Man, did you make that?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "How much you want for it?" And I just popped off a number, I said $25, I was joking, and he handed me a $50 bill, and he said, "I need 2 of them with these initials or whatever." I got started in leather work whenever I was in 8th grade, I think, somewhere around there. I was had a friend of mine that we grew up roping with, and his dad, we'd go over there and rope, and his dad had a whole leather shop in his barn, and I had drawn and done artwork and stuff like that. He kind of started showing me some stuff, and I was hooked. So like that Christmas, my dad got me a Tandy Leather kit, the big one that had everything in it. And so I sat there, I think that Christmas weekend, and made everything in there. And then from that point on, it just kind of grew. So I went home that next weekend, got all my tools, brought them back, and I've had a shop in my apartment or my house ever since. Right, my name is Don Gonzales with Gonzales Saddlery here in Bryan, Texas. I came to A&M to go to vet school, is what I wanted to do. And I'd made friends with a guy here in town that had a saddle shop, and he was the absolute first saddle maker I'd ever met. As far as a full-time, that's what he did. And his name was Jim Plant. And fell in with him. He's just a good dude, and became real good buddies with him. And the year before I graduated from A&M, I applied to vet school, and I didn't get in. And so I was going to have to stay and do something in the interim. So he needed help at the shop, so I just went to work for him. And I could do some stuff. I could do repair, and I could tool some and stuff like that. And so I started helping him. We built a saddle that summer, and then he offered me the apprenticeship after that. And so I guess it wasn't too horrible building a saddle. So I didn't even apply to vet school after that. I just stayed there and worked for him for a year, because I figured apprenticeship like that, they don't come up very often. So I went ahead and put vet school on hold. Worked for him for about a year, and I think I built 3 or 4 saddles during that time. Of course, I was doing all of his repair and his chaps and stuff like that too, and just never knew I could do that as a career. So I just kind of stuck with it. And then about a year or so after that, maybe 2 years after that, I bought the business from him. I think the biggest challenge was for me, especially because when I went to school, I went to college for a science degree. So I've got tons of chemistry and math and that kind of stuff, and never had any business classes whatsoever. So when I got out and graduated, obviously being set up for science and wanting to go that direction, then I ended up owning a business. At 24 years old, I had no idea anything about business as far as accounting and that sort of thing. So the biggest challenge in my business has always been that learning curve, learning how to operate a business, learning how to do the accounting, learning how to do the marketing and all that kind of stuff. And 15 years in, I've made quite a bit of mistakes and stuff like that, but I've learned quite a bit. The leather portion of it has its own set of challenges, and it's like what I always tell people is like leather is very forgiving. Because woodwork, I'm horrible at woodwork. Because I can cut a board twice and it's still too short, so there's nothing I can really do for it. But whenever I'm working with leather, you can stretch things, you can change things around, and it's a little bit forgiving, but it's also in the same sense pretty aggravating, because 2 pieces of leather aren't ever the same. You can cut them side by side, the same from the same hide, and one's going to react differently than the other one. So I think that portion of learning how to manipulate and deal with your material is probably the biggest challenge as far as leather work goes. I've had a number of guys work for me over the years, and have taught guys how to everything from how to build saddles, how to build, how to learn how to tool, how to build belts and that kind of thing. And I've got guys out that have used to work for me that now have their own businesses that are really successful, and doing good. And some guys that are just starting out, kind of getting going. And I found that I really liked. I didn't think I would, because I just kind of like doing my work and I like doing my art, but there's really something different, fulfilling, I guess, that's just a little bit different as far as the teaching side of being able to take somebody that doesn't really understand. Because like if you take somebody that is, say, a roofer or a framer, and then put them in, say, another job like plumbing or something, a lot of those tools they go hand in hand. Everybody's seen a hammer, everybody's used, at some point in some jobs you've used these tools. In leatherwork, you haven't seen many of these tools ever in anything outside of leatherwork. And so it's really neat to take somebody that has no knowledge of it whatsoever and put them in there and start teaching them and see how they can grow. It's kind of one of them trades that I think we need, even though, technology, I'm a gadget nut, so I love technology and all the latest and greatest stuff, but a lot of that traditional skills and traditional art and trades need to be here too, you know. I'm seeing a real big growth in that market. I mean, when I first started putting out a few YouTube videos and putting up some artwork patterns and doing some tutorials on our blog and stuff like that, I thought, well, it'll hit some people, you know, it's cool. It'll be a fun deal, but it's really gotten to where it's almost as big as the rest of my business, because there's so many guys, especially young guys, trying to get in that want to learn how to build stuff. As far as now, it's good to see some new people coming in and making some new products that offer the knowledge, you know, in a different, maybe a different way. Maybe the artwork's different, but there's like a fresh revival coming in of new material, and that's really cool. And I want to be a part of that. You know, when I started doing everything was, you know, of course you had all the Al Stolman books, you had all the, you know, there's tons of them out there, the older patterns, and those are still really popular. Just like the Sheridan style, you know, it came from a lot of that stuff too, as far as the improving on what was already there. And so we're seeing a lot of that now, especially, or at least I did years ago, say 7-8 years ago in my business. I got where people were not ordering as much basket stand, not ordering as much oak leaf. I mean, I haven't done an oak leaf belt in probably maybe one a year. And it's like people are I think it's a lot due to the internet. Everything's in front of them where they can see all these different styles and all these different things and everything that everybody's doing. And so people no longer want just put floral pattern AB 101 on there. You know what I mean? They want something designed for them that's particular. I mean, you're seeing a lot of the tattoo influence, and I know the tattoo things have changed over the years too, as far as that artwork design. But a lot of that stuff is starting to cross filter. And I'm seeing silversmiths take tooling patterns and put it in silver. I'm seeing toolers take silver, you know, engraving and try to put it into leather. Everybody's taking all of that and trying to incorporate it into their media, whatever it might be. And so I think that's really neat. It's almost not really a style. There's just that artist style. Sheridan, I think Northwestern, and like there's some big hitters in there those are the styles. But even those rules or whatever that sets up that says that is a Sheridan pattern, even those rules are being broken every day. And I gotta do something different in there that does it still make it Sheridan? I don't know. Like the guy I learned from, you know, he had his patterns and he had certain flowers and a certain little style, but you know, he didn't really break out of that very much. And a lot of the newer guys, they're just trying to do anything different. If it's different, they want it all. And the customer's setting all that up, you know, for the most part. And so you got to give them what they want, you know. You kind of get to where you're like, you got to be somewhat selective and say, yeah, I want to. There for a while, we kind of got in that deal where I had a spur maker call me. He said, I'm building some spurs. I'm doing skulls on here. They're not really my thing, but that's what the guy wants, and I'm doing them. I'm having fun with them. They're really cool. But he said that he wants straps done, and you're the skull guy. And I was like, I remember getting off the phone thinking, when did I become the skull guy? Like, I don't even wear skulls. I have nothing with a skull on it. But I don't mind drawing them. I mean, that's fine. As a kid, I drew comic books and He-Man and Skeletor and all, you know. And so, I mean, it's fun to draw. But so anyway, I started noticing it was like we were doing a lot of skull stuff, and so we were kind of becoming known for. We did 3 different skull-themed saddles. The whole entire saddle was themed after a certain type. We did a fire skull, and then a sugar skull, and then one that was just, you know, death skulls. I guess it was kind of weird. Which that niches that saddle down into that market. You got. Out of thousands of people that can spend the money for that kind of saddle, you've narrowed it down now to 1% that would actually ride it, you know, which it's a cool saddle, but it's just very select few people would actually want that. So that was kind of where I started noticing, like, man, I don't really want to be typecast, so to speak, as the skull guy. But then I always try to remind myself, like, push out there a little bit, you know, do something that you haven't done. Don't just keep doing the same pattern, you know, and all that. And I'm bad about it on belts because I've noticed that I'll use the same flower, same leaf, you know, and so sometimes I'll sit down and force myself to draw a completely new flower that I haven't used, you know, and try to freshen it up, because if you don't, people do get kind of numb to the pattern. And then if they're not coming in and requesting, I want that pattern on that belt that you built for so-and-so, that's the coolest, then it's kind of getting stagnant. All right, my name is Don Gonzales with Don Gonzales Saddlery here in Bryan, Texas, and we've been here since 2004. And we build custom saddles and custom belts mainly. And if you'd like to visit our website, it's dgsaddlery.com. And we're on social media as far as Facebook and Instagram. Yeah, and if you want to look us up on YouTube, it's just Don Gonzales on YouTube. And it's mainly for tutorials and teaching leathercraft and stuff like that. We've got about 4,000 subscribers on there. We'd sure like to grow that a bunch.